This is an electric dirt bike that has the capabilities of doing highway speeds, which is pretty insane considering how much money I spent on my old Sur Ron to be able to be this powerful. Less than 5,000 bucks is crazy. This is the Dirt Goat by a company called Goat Power Bikes, and I'm gonna tell you guys all about it. So electric bikes are fairly new and they can be kind of complicated. Also, the market is completely flooded with electric motorcycles. So there's a lot of numbers out there. So it might be kind of confusing because we're used to numbers like horsepower and cc's to see how big the engine is, to get an idea of who that bike is for. Now with the electric bikes, we have a whole new set of numbers. We got watts, kilowatt hours, we have amp hours, we have volts, all these different things. It might be kind of confusing of figuring out how to navigate these different types of motorcycles. So the first thing I want to do is break it down into very simple terms and just break that down to 3 basic numbers. If you understand what these numbers do, you can have a pretty good idea of what that bike can do. So the first one is voltage, and that's very important. This is how many volts the battery makes. Think about it this way. It's how much raw power the battery is able to put out at one time. Now, generally speaking, the more volts you have, the faster the bike's gonna be. So to put it in some context of things that you use all the time, your car battery is 12 volts, your Milwaukee power tools are either 12 or 18 volts, and then if you have an electric lawnmower, it's possibly 40 volts or 48 volts. The next number is amp hours. That's how much energy the battery is able to store, or how much power you have left in the tank, if you want to use like gasoline terminology. And generally, for them to have more amp hours, they have to make it a little bit bigger, but not always. So voltage and amp hours pertain to the battery, and all that can be changed by just putting a new battery in it. But there is some limitations on the new battery depending on your controller and the actual motor. A lot of times when people upgrade these e-bikes, the biggest upgrade is a new battery with higher volts, which makes it faster as long as the motor can handle it and the controller can handle it. If the controller and the motor can't handle it, you're gonna fry something and it's not gonna be pretty. Now the next number is wattage, and watts is what connects and parallels directly with horsepower. 1 horsepower roughly equals 745 watts. And wattage is where the motor is rated at. And oftentimes the electric motor will be rated for 2 different numbers. One's continuous and one's gonna be peak. Now we're at least speaking the same language. Let me show you why this bike, the Goat bike, is pretty impressive. For starters, it's a pretty good looking bike. I've seen a lot of these, I've ridden a lot of these. Like normal, they are smaller, they're sized for like teenagers, but I'm 6'2" and I can ride the thing. If you were a little kid, it might be too big for you. And it's got all the basic things that you generally see with these electric bikes. However, this one does feel like it's pretty high quality. Fender, infotainment, obviously handlebars. All the brakes are up here. There's no brakes on the footboards, which makes sense for an e-bike. It does not make sense. It's not really possible for a gasoline powered bike. And then it's got a keyhole over here. Pop the keyhole in. Sometimes they flip up this way. This one flips up this way. It's actually the entire tailpiece, which I kind of like because a lot of times this is going to get broken. And when this gets broken, you just pop the seat off. The subframe back here is aluminum and it feels great, so it's definitely going to handle. I mean, let's be honest, you're going to crash this thing. Most likely you're going to be trying to wheelie it and you're definitely going to flip it, but nice sturdy subframe. And then like all these, they mount the battery right in the center. We'll talk about the battery a little bit more. It also came in a nice little toolkit and it jams fairly nicely back there. It kind of looks like they're just like, it fits. Probably not the best place for a toolkit, to be honest. They should have put a little tray inside there, but whatever. Now what you'll notice is that this battery is pretty much double the size of most e-bikes out there. Most of them are, the profile's like that and then it's long and it slides down. This one is, it's like having 2 batteries in there. And that's how they're able to have so many volts, but also 50 amp hours. Now what you'll notice is down here, a lot of times, because they have a wider battery, the battery will come down here and occupy some of this space. But this is the space that if you're riding dirt bike, this is gonna get bashed in a lot. And the last thing you want is to bash in your battery. You know, you're riding dirt, you're doing fun stuff, this is gonna get hurt. What's nice is they have a really heavy duty skid plate right down here to stop that from happening. Now where this bike really shines is range and top speed. Now in terms of range, this thing claims it can do 40 miles at top speed, which is pretty impressive, but then 75 miles at lower speeds. Now you might be thinking, you're like, well, that's not very much. Those numbers are showcasing the weaknesses of electric motorcycles. Long distances on consistent throttle is the most inefficient way to use the battery. The most efficient way to use the battery is how dirt bikes are generally used. A lot of stop and go, a lot of quick bursts, which means that these things can last for hours upon hours if you're just riding around in a field or just doing dirt bike stuff. But people still, they want to hear a range number. I mean, it's the first question I ask, it's the first question everyone asks: how long can it go? It's kind of a bad question to ask, but at least it gives you something to compare with other vehicles, because everyone's going to be driving the bike in a different way, so you need something to compare it to. So this bike is powered by a 96-volt battery. Now, a couple years ago, back when the first e-bikes kind of came out, I think I paid $10,000 to upgrade my Sur Ron. And I think I paid at least $5,000 just for a 96-volt battery to do similar things that this thing's capable of. So after having about 15 grand in it, when I see something like this it's already built that way for less than 5, it kind of blows my mind away. What's great is this was designed with that much power kept in mind. So the problems that you have when you modify something that was not meant to be that fast, you're not going to have it with this, including this giant chain. This is a dirt bike size chain. If you go look at the little electric racer bikes, they got really thin little chains because they made from stock really tiny little horsepower. But when people start modifying them, one of the first problems you're going to have is that weak chain, which this one will not have that problem. You'll also notice that this thing's sitting on just regular dirt bike tires, pretty much the same size dirt bike tires that you're going to see on like a CRF 125. It also has a 50 amp hour battery, which is made of Samsung 50 GB cells. I don't know what any of that stuff actually means. I just know it's 50 amp hours and that Samsung makes pretty good products. So it is a pretty quality battery. So it takes the power from the throttle through a controller, which sends the battery power to the motor. Now this motor is mid-mounted inside the frame, so it's got the weight in the center. Opposed to like a hub-mounted motor. A hub-mounted motor is not going to be as upgradable. It's going to be harder, it's going to be harder to fix and harder to keep it going. But this is a 6,000 watt continuous power and a 15,000 watt peak power motor, which if you convert that using the watts to horsepower formula, it's 8 horsepower to 20 horsepower, which on a light bike like this, that's pretty impressive. Also, it's instant. So it also has a very impressive top speed of 65 miles an hour. And that's stock, completely stock. The bike has hydraulic front and rear, and these are less like hydraulic brakes that you would see on a dirt bike or a motorcycle, and more like upgraded, beefed up hydraulic brakes that you would see on a really nice mountain bike. And that's kind of where these bikes fall in line with. They're trying to go lightweight. They're trying to keep the prices down. So a lot of times, some things will lean on the dirt bike side, and some things will lean on the very, very, very high end of mountain bike side. You also notice that these forks are pretty substantial sized inverted forks. When it comes to the thickness, it's a little bit thicker than what you'd see on like a TTR 125. Up here, it's got an LED headlight along with a goat symbol. This bike can fully recharge off of regular 110, 120, like you plug into your home. It can fully recharge in 4 hours, or if you had a second battery, you can charge one, keep on riding it, and keep on switching to pretty much have continuous non-stop riding. It also has a pretty nice infotainment center, infotainment screen. What's cool about it is it goes in the park when you put the kickstand down. You put the kickstand up, bam, it goes right into your modes. Go power bikes. You have eco mode, you have sport mode, you have sport plus. It tells you your power, and it tells you how much battery you have left. And it's got a full-blown light switch, which definitely kind of tells you these are not made for the street. But here's the big question that's on my mind, and that is, what are these bikes really good for? Let me show you. All right, guys, before we do this test drive, let's do the words of wisdom, Isaiah 26:4. Trust in the Lord forever, for the Lord is an everlasting rock. All right, so it is a beautiful day outside. We're about to rip this thing. I can't wait. But it's not always going to be beautiful outside. Depending on where you live, it might be pretty awful. So if you are coming out to Biketoberfest in Daytona Beach, Florida, it's October 16th through 19th, and it's going to be a blast. Also, we made a cool video special just for this event. Whoa, nice. Just so that you guys know what to bring and what you don't want to forget. Here's an interesting thing about most of these electric bikes. They set them up that you can't be on the brake and the gas at the same time, which I don't know why. That strikes me as somewhat funny, because on a normal motorcycle, that's all you really do. All right, what power mode are we in? We are in Sport Plus. Let's go to Eco mode, see what that feels like. See if we can do some hills with it. I mean, we got plenty of power, even in Eco. But the difference is there's a more of a delay with the throttle, with the throttle response. Let's go to Sport mode. See what Sport mode feels like. Feels pretty good. I want Sport Plus mode. I want all of it. There we go. All right, so in reality, this is what these little bikes are good for and are made for. Not really riding on the street. They're not made for your 12-year-old to be hooliganizing the neighborhood. They're made for stuff like this, just ripping around the woods, doing the same type of things that you would do with a dirt bike, but you're quieter and you're a lot lighter too. So in some ways, this thing bridges the gap between, oh, look at this log. Good thing I had the skid plate. So when people set these up to do wheelies, they have to unplug some things. They got to come down here, unplug the brake sensors. So you trick the bike to think that you're not on the brake, but you actually are. Some manufacturers don't even set that up. I'm not sure why, whether that's a regulation they have to do or not, but they don't like you doing burnouts. Another awesome thing about these bikes is, think about this. Think about the functionality that you would get for sneaking in the woods. This is quieter than me walking in the woods. So the cool types of animals I could sneak up on are pretty endless. Also, I just ran right through a spider web. Where's the trail at? There we go. Still at 90%. You see, doing stuff like this, riding around in trails, not going super fast, but short bursts of going real fast, this is what these electric bikes love. I mean, this thing could probably do this for 6 hours or something. It could do it for a long time. There we go, now I can see the gauges. Now before we wrap things up, let's see how fast this thing can do 0 to 30 in Sport Plus mode. All right, Sport Plus. Go. That's pretty quick. That is surprisingly fast. Let's try it one more time. Bam, wow. A special thanks to our partner at Goat Power Bikes for letting us tear up some of my farm trails on the 96-volt Dirt Goat. If you want tons of power and a longer range, make sure you check out this bike at gopowerbikes.com or check out the link in the description right here. Hey, I just wanted to say to all of our super fans, thank you so much for sending us your stories this summer. We loved hearing from you guys, and you still have until September 6th to use our link to create your own Partzilla account for your chance to win $500 in parts and equipment from Partzilla.com. Now on to the last winner of the summer, and this is a pretty good one. This week's winner of the Partzilla Superfans contest is Matt from Ellison Bay, Wisconsin. Now, as a surprise, Matt's wife was the one who wrote to us about him needing help with his Honda Blackbird. So nobody could find a proportional control valve for the brake system of his 2003 Blackbird, which is a pretty rare bike, because apparently everyone on the internet is out of stock. They stopped making the bike 2 decades ago. But our friends at Partzilla did some research, and they found out that the bike that went off of a VFR could be retrofitted and modified to fit. They're actually gonna modify it and customize it for him just so it fits on his motorcycle. And Matt, we also have one big surprise for you. I don't know how I know this before you know this, but congratulations, you're gonna be a father. We're having a baby. We'll see you guys next time. You might like this video right here.